If you're looking for tough front end coverage to add on to your 2019 through 2024 Ram 1500, this Westin HDX Modular Grille Guard in black is a great choice. And I do want to mention that this does not fit the EcoDiesel, the TRX, or the Rebel models. However, if you don't have one of those models and you're looking for a solution to a full front end protection without having to swap out your front bumper or make any major modifications, this is going to get the job done well. Now, with being a solid add-on, this also is one of the more protective choices, especially for a grille guard, and has a sleek, conforming build compared to bulkier choices if you're looking for compact coverage for your Ram. I think one of the biggest benefits here is how the grille guard contours to the shape of the truck and gives a pretty fitting appearance compared to some larger or bulkier choices, while also offering a lot of coverage to most aspects of the front, including the bumper thanks to the welded bar and the outward uprights. This also offers some great protection to the grille with a honeycomb mesh material, providing a layer to stop any debris on the road from getting to the grille while also allowing unobstructed airflow. Speaking of unobstructed, the headlight guards on either side also contour to the headlights very well, and they even have a reinforcement bar for additional strength while not interrupting the beam pattern, keeping your visibility optimal. This is made of a mild steel construction with a black powder coat and an electrostatic base coat that resists any rusting or corrosion on the surface. And I think that the semi-gloss appearance really adds more of a polished look to the guard compared to something like a more heavy-duty textured coating. Now, the steel and welds on the system are also able to hold up very well and be put through their paces, especially with the 2-inch sizing of the main tubing and the 1¼ inch wing supports to the headlight covers. Now, the uprights are also almost 3 inches in width here and have heavy-duty rubber strips for more protection and to potentially prevent any scratching or damage to other parts of this system, since they are the most outward portion of the guard. Now, again, this also has a drill-free install process, but I do want to mention that there may be some trimming of the plastic covers on the front in order to get this fitted properly. However, we will show you how to do that in just a minute. Now, this comes in at about $1,000, which is fairly average in price point for a grille guard. Now, comparing this to other front-end protective solutions, this is definitely, again, for the Ram owners who are looking to add on to the front rather than replace any components and get a wider range of front-end coverage at a comparable price point compared to something like a bumper solution. Now, it's also pretty full coverage as far as choices are concerned, offering more protection than other bare-bone grille guard options if you are looking for a guard that's going to give you a little bit more than the average without going overboard with other features or the price point. Now, install is a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter and should take around 2 hours or so to get the job done with some basic hand tools. I do recommend having some extra hands on deck for simply just the size of this. However, at this point, I'm going to hand it over to one of our installers here. They're going to show you a detailed breakdown on how you can bolt this up to your Ram at home. So that's going to wrap it up for what I have to say. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
All right, for this install, you will need a 1/2 inch impact driver, a 3/8 ratchet, a clip removal tool, the provided Allen keys, a 19, 16, and 8mm wrench, a 13, 15, 16 socket, also various 19mm sockets. You'll need a 21mm deep socket and a 3-inch extension. Today we're going to be installing a grille guard on our Ram. Let's get started. All right, before we get started, we're actually going to remove this lower plastic piece so we can get better access to these plastic panels. All right, to remove this bottom plastic piece, there's a couple 10mm nuts along the way here that are tucked up underneath inside the bumper that are hard to see. So we're just going to remove starting from these two over here. All right, once we have those two out, we're going to work our way down the line and continue and repeat for the other side. All right, now that we have all of the 10mm nuts removed, we can pull this down and move it out the way. All right, first thing we're going to do is remove this top nut right here on the plastic panel so we can lift it up and push it out of the way. We have one right here and we have another nut right here holding it on. We're just going to loosen both of them and remove it out of the way. We're using an 8mm wrench to loosen this up, take it out. It's a little hard to see and it's a little hard to get to, but once you get it loose, it should just come right out. And once we get that out, we can repeat that for the other side. All right, now we're gonna have to remove the center trim. First, we're gonna remove these clips all along the bottom here. We have a couple, so we're gonna go start with this one and move our way across. All right, after you remove these clips, you're gonna repeat for the other side. A couple nuts up here that we're gonna have to loosen to remove the trim. It's the similar nuts as the lower trim panels. We're gonna use our 8mm wrench and loosen this side. We have a couple going across the top here. It's kind of hard to see, so we're just gonna work our way in there. All right, once we have the first one loosened up and this one right about here, we have one more in the center and then two more on the end. We can repeat for the other side. All right, now that we have the panel pushed back a little bit, we're gonna fully remove it. And now we have access to this. All right, before we install the mounting bracket, this is the orientation that it's gonna sit on the passenger side. It's gonna go in like that. We're going to take our support bracket and put it on the side right here. We're gonna loosely fit the hardware just like that, so that way we can have it mounted in the correct position. We're gonna put our bolt, lock washer, and flat washer through the backside and slide our support bracket right over. Let that sit. Flat washer and lock nut. And just thread that on hand tight. All right, now we can slide our bracket in. Get this mounted up. Install our hardware right here into the frame. And just get that loosely tightened in there. And now we can move on to the bracket. All right, now we can install our hardware with our bolt into the frame and our larger flat washer with the nut. Now you can tighten this down with our 16mm socket and our 16mm wrench. Now that we have the top bolt tightened down, we can move on to this bottom one. All right, now we can tighten down our lower bolt with our 21mm socket. All right, for our upper support bracket, we're gonna install these bolts on the back end and also take our plastic retainers and push them all to hold them in place. All right, before we can install our bracket, we actually have to remove this frame bolt right here, and we're gonna do so by pushing through the other side and let it come out. All right, it's gonna be hard to see, but once we have that bolt out, we can now install our upper bracket. Let it sit in place just like that. All right, it's kind of hard to see, but now we can install our hardware on our upper brackets. Put our large washer on and our locking nut. All right, now we can install our flat washer and our locking nut. All right, you can use a shorter 19mm socket to get in there. And if you need to, you can finish it up with a wrench. All right, once you get everything tightened up, you might need to make some adjustments, but you're going to repeat the same steps for the other side. All right, to support our grill guard, we're going to temporarily install 2 upper bolts in the upper brackets so we can get to the lower ones. All right, now we can install our hardware once we have it temporarily supported on the bottom end. With our bolt and our lock washer on this side and our lock nut on this side. All right, we have the top one already installed to support us. Now we can install the rear one. Now we can tighten this down with the supplied Allen wrench and a 19mm socket. All right, now we can make any adjustments we need to. Lift that up a bit and support it using the provided Allen key and the 15mm socket. Once you get these 2 tightened down, you can make any adjustments and repeat for the other side. All right, now we're gonna mount up our wings. We'll install the hardware just to hold one in place. Once that's situated, we can come back and put the rest of the bolts in. All right, this rear one's kind of hard to see. It's tucked up underneath the bar. All right, once we have all those in, you can make any adjustments you need and tighten it down. All right, now we can use the provided Allen key and a 13mm socket to tighten this down. All right, once you have these tightened down, you can repeat the same step for the other side. All right, that wraps up our install for HDX Modular Grille Guard in black for 19 to 24 Ram 1500, excluding Eco Diesel, Rebel, and TRX. Just remember, for everything Ram related, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.